Billiken fans, welcome back. It's Zach Miller and Peter Hale. It's the Midtown Madness Podcast. Before we get going, thank you again so much for listening. And if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. It's season 5. Once again, the Midtown Madness Podcast is brought to you by Two Men in a Garden. With conference season coming up, we're going to have a lot of road games, a lot of games, that are going to need to come with a snack at home. And if you're looking to snack, elevate your mid-game snacking, Two Men in a Garden is the salsa for you. It's truly a slam dunk, whether you're watching by yourself or with friends. They've got mild, medium, or hot, as well as some fruit flavors in there as well. Two Men in a Garden has you covered when it comes to your game day snacking. Visit them online at twomeninthegarden.com to shop your favorite flavors and learn more about Kitchen Hub STL. Don't forget to follow them on social media at Two Men Salsa on Instagram and Twitter for the latest updates. By the way, also shout out Joel Hall for snagging me some dill pickles. They made someone in my life happy to gift those. So thank you so much. I actually was meeting up with him. Well, I was supposed to meet up with him before the game. He was running late. So I was like, okay, cool. After the game, we usually park in the same parking lot. So I was so excited about the game. I left, started heading to 44, and he texted me, "Where are you at?" I was like, oh, shit. So I had to whip around and go against the grain to get those spicy dill pickles. So thanks again, Joel. Pete, let's just get into it because I am racking my brain to come up with an in-season week in Billiken men's basketball with as many good vibes as this one.
The only thing I can think of, Zach, is if you look at the start of the season 2 years ago, when we were supposed to be good, if you remember, like really good. And we beat Murray State, Evansville, and Memphis in the span of 8 days. And so it was the first 3 games, the first regular season games of that season, and we beat Memphis, and we thought, okay, maybe this team is as good as advertised. And then got killed by Maryland and won a couple games and then lost at Auburn. And then, Iona, Boise State, SIUE, that devastating one. And so that season kind of gradually fell apart. But all I could think of was maybe in the very beginning of that season. I can't remember for sure, but I thought that would be close. But I think what's really special about this one is the way things have really come into focus. And we're starting to see like, oh, this is what we had in mind, right?
Yeah, I think, I think there was a lot of things you could look at and say, this team has something there. There's something that's not just not right. And this week, my thought was the COVID year. It was like that LSU game. And I think that whole tournament kind of worked out really well for the Billikens that week. Right. But yeah, I think we all thought there was something missing. I think there was a lot of different thoughts on what that was. I know most of Billiken, Nation. I hate to use Billiken Nation. I think everybody uses it. It's like something strong. Everybody has their own. But my personal or Billiken Nation's opinion was it was not clicking on offense. I thought the offense was pretty darn good. I thought it could have been better, but I thought it was the strength of this team, even in its darkest moments of the early season.
Yeah, I do. I agree with that. And now, with these 2 games, Zach, we're seeing that all the way, right? Like this is the vision come to life.
Yes, and you match that with, I think, what I thought was a bit of the problem was effort and focus, and you could see the dialed up defensive effort and pressure. Not biting on fakes. You saw a lot of it, and we're going to get into it. But I thought that defense really was the catalyst for that offense as well. At least it didn't hinder it because you have, I think, the offense is going to be great. We can see it. It's going to be elite. But there's only so much. If you can't stop teams, you're selling yourself short. And if this team can put together that, keep that defensive pressure up and that offense, I think this team can absolutely contend for a double bye and the A10 championship.
Yep, the pieces are there, the system's there, things are coming into place. A lot can happen between now and then. Anything can happen. It's a very, as we'll get into, there's a lot of strange results in the early going in this league.
This league is what they would say. Man. That's how they would say it. This league.
Really unpredictable. But I think you make a really good point about effort. It's something we noticed, during that Fordham game. It's something that Stu noticed and framed his initial article about. Was guys hitting the floor, going for loose balls. Just that extra effort was visible in a way that it hasn't been previously. And when you combine that with the fact that things were working at both ends, people were really cutting in the offense. We were seeing, and when everybody else is doing what they need to do off the ball, you really see Avila's value just skyrocket. Yeah. But yeah, let's get into the games. I mean, there's so much good stuff to talk about here.
Well, I want to preface these two games. One final preface in that, of course, these are two teams that we expected to be bottom feeders, right? I mean, the league expected the media around the league, everybody expected St. Joe's to be top 4. I don't know how much of that is realistic with Billy Lang as the head coach. But Fordham, St. Joe's, not the world beaters, but you pick up an 88-63 win at Fordham Tuesday, December 31st. Pete, if I tell you against any team, true road game, I don't care what level, I mean, any team from bottom to the top of the conference, right? Any team. That you pick up a 25-point win on the road in conference, I take that every day and twice on Sundays.
Absolutely. It doesn't matter if they're going to be, if you know for sure this is going to be the last place team in the league, and we didn't know that, right? This is a margin of victory that you are right. You would take against anyone. You and I and everyone else, we just want to win.
Yes.
We don't care. The Grand Canyon game, the Illinois, all these close games that either got away or we, got out of hand and we couldn't get back into it or whatever the case was. We just wanted to win. And in conference, it's just win these games. And to do it with this start to finish effort, where we kept building a lead. I mean, you can't really ask for anything else. The pregame injury report was a little concerning. Swope was marked as available, albeit, playing through some lingering knee soreness. Thames was listed as available, but cramping was a possibility, and coming back from that strained hip flexor. He just, as Schertz said later, he's just not 100% back yet. They're limiting his minutes, and they're gonna build him back up. Casey was available after coming back from an ankle injury heading into this game, but injured his back in pregame practice, so he did not dress for this or the next game.
Who is he, Jimmy Butler?
No kidding. And then McCautry was dealing with a sore back, but his DNP was a coaching decision in this game. And Zach, just to get through that and circle back, this was the game. This was everything we wanted and expected. At this team at its best, putting an inferior team away from start to finish, and man, did it feel good.
It did, Pete. This was finally a game where the anxiety of losing to, like you said, an inferior opponent on the road, it kind of melted away after about 15 minutes of game time. Hell, the anxiety of laying an egg on the road, as we've seen Billiken teams do consistently, it was like heroin.
Yeah, it definitely hits hard. I mean,
it hit like jump in the bathtub, tie a rubber tuber. Anyway,
I mean, hey, if that analogy works for you, it works for you, Zach. But I think Slew just did so many things right in this game. Like when you look at all of the little things that they did, things that we haven't necessarily seen that much this season, hitting the floor for loose balls, like we said, moving the ball really well for the most part, cutting way more in this game, still needed improvement, but like guys doing what they had to do off the ball, playing hard at both ends, that visible effort that we hadn't really seen before. I don't know how much that feeds the offense being a more well-oiled machine. I think it does feed the defense being where it needs to be to a higher degree. So there was that.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, you looked at, I think in that Grand Canyon game, in that the Fordham game, and again, we're going to look ahead at St. Joe's. By the way, we should have gone back and then forward again. We really screwed that up.
So they're kind of a piece.
Yeah. I think, we started to see a lot of tip out offensive rebounds. We've started to see at least one of those a game, or getting one or two, three. Like, we're getting offensive rebounds where that was kind of non-existent except in lucky cases. Like right. The ball kind of falls. Now we're seeing more hustle offensive rebounds. And Pete, all those things you mentioned there are all criticisms that, we've talked about. Again, Avila is a great player. He's a great offensive weapon. Swope is obviously a great weapon. But it seemed like there was a level of like want to and just go do it. Put your body out there, play hard, and that's really what we saw in this game.
Yeah, and I think you can't ignore the fact that Gibson Jimerson was like kind of the initial catalyst of this thing. He went in the first half.
They call him the bum slayer for a reason.
He had 26 points in the first half. He ended the game with a career high 33 points. I think, did he score the first like 10 or 12?
It was 9. I think the first 9.
Okay. He was outscoring the Rams by himself at several points in the half. It was 26 Jimerson, 26 Fordham before Fordham hit a free throw and then scored at the buzzer to give themselves 29 in the half. But obviously Slew outscored them. Yes, he did only score 7 in the second half, but it's not fair to really call him a one-half wonder in this game.
No.
Slew just kind of took what Fordham gave them. It doesn't really matter who got the points. 7.5 is fine. That gets him close to his average already. But he more than did what he needed to do in the first half. He was just awesome in this game.
Pete, what Jimerson, the type of game Jimerson experienced in that first half and even in that second half, this is what I expected for Gibson Jimerson coming back. Not what I expected out of Gibson Jimerson. But this is the kind of game where teams are going to have to decide which Billiken they're going to dare to beat them. And in this game, specifically the first half, it was our man Gib Jim.
Yeah. And that's going to get really interesting in the St. Joe's game, actually, because it'll kind of be the reverse script of that, right? Like choosing who's going to beat you. And St. Joe's made a different choice. When we really have such a strong big three, and each one of them is a very different kind of player, obviously different position, but the things that they do are all very different. It makes it really hard. You're like, oh, I'll just put my best perimeter defender on this guy. I'll put my best big on this guy. It's not that simple, right? It's tough to guard Robbie Avila for a conventional center, and maybe the inverse of that is true as well. But he's just a tough guard. You can put your best perimeter defender on Jimerson, and you have to contend with Swope. You can do the opposite. It's just, no matter what you do, you need a really good starting defensive 5 to keep up with these guys. And it just makes them all that much more valuable.
Yeah. Isaiah Swope. Did we talk about him?
Not yet. No.
Not yet. Because he again, this feels like the game that they locked down Swope. And then it was, Swope or Jimerson, and they chose Jimerson. I honestly, the way Jimerson is streaky, I think that's probably going to be the main option that teams choose. And again, like I said, this is what I wanted for. This is what I thought would happen for Jimerson, and I think if they're going to do it, and he's making the right cuts, I don't see. I don't see an issue. Him getting to the rack is much better than I think people give him credit for.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. He's learned how to make himself valuable in more than one way, and not just kind of be that shooter. He's also, I think it should be said, has stepped up his defense over the course of the year.
Yes.
He's got, there were a couple plays I think he'd like to have back in these last couple games, but overall I think his defense has gotten a lot better. Robbie Avila was excellent in this game, Zach, 19, 5, and 4. And really it felt like more than 4 assists. He had some really nice passes from the top of the key. Getting guys to move better when the ball is in his hands is a work in progress, but there was discernible progress in this game. And like you said, Isaiah Swope in this game wasn't his best game. He never really heated up out from outside. He went 1 from 5, but he still finished with 15 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, because he was getting space to operate. But Zach, I don't think we can ignore the fact that Fordham's defense was bad, like just plain bad. It was almost confusing to watch at times. Scheme, personnel, effort, nothing really made sense here.
See, you saw that, and I have no frame of reference.
Oh man, they were. I as much as we are praising Slew's effort here, there were times where I thought, like, are they quit? Like there were just possessions like strung together where it looked like Fordham was just kind of like quitting on their season. Like it was that kind of body language. But I thought, like, maybe that's not it, right? Like maybe, but they just
it's just lost. Keith Ergo.
I don't know. I mean, he went 25 and 8 in their first season, in his first season with them, and they were kind of known for their defense. Like I think they honestly just had better dudes. That team got poached big time by all of the bigger NIL budgets out there. So it's clear he just had better players.
That is going to be a weird thing to see, is teams that were really good one year. It's going to be very interesting how the mid majors, you'll have. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Fordham, even before the NIL and unlimited transfer thing, always had issues keeping guys.
Oh, God.
There was that big German kid who did well against us when he was a freshman. Mm-hmm. They had the point guard who went to USC.
God, I can't.
Who was really good.
I can't think of a single one of them right now, but there's been 500 of them.
Yeah, names are escaping me, but they kind of they originated the transfers.
Wasn't there a point guard that went to Mizzou?
Away. I don't know about Mizzou.
Nick Honor.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Nick Honor. Okay.
So they've gotten good freshmen over the years. It's just it's the keeping them. But anyway, completely lost in this game. I don't know how you feel about Kalu Anya's performance in this game, Zach. It's one where you look on paper, he had 7 points and a game high 10 rebounds. He did have 2 turnovers. It felt like more. He had some poor shot attempts. His bad plays seemed to come in clusters. I guess he was mostly solid, but it seemed like he was the kind of player, like as things were going well, he would have a few bad plays in a row. And that's the one when you would see on Twitter or Discord or wherever, where people are like, all right, get him a break, get him out of there, that kind of thing. But if you just saw him in the box score, you wouldn't have thought it would be that bad.
Yeah, it was kind of a Isaiah Swope type game. Where one of Isaiah Swope's bad games, where you're kind of like, what do you just don't make that decision? Like, it just slow down, just chill. Yeah. Like it's you don't have to take that shot twice. You don't have to try to shoot yourself back into it. I mean, I have been advocating for more Picard. But yeah, again, he showed up in this game. 10 rebounds. If you come in talking about you're gonna lead the A10 in rebounding, give me some more, man. Go give me some offensive rebounds. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, I would not be upset if he got off, but he's back up there in terms of rebounds. I'm gonna get you the rebounding stats on him and let you know where he actually is rebounding.
Well, while you're looking that up, you got excited about Kellen Thames, who played 10 minutes and looked healthy.
Yeah, he did. Even though I said he was on a minutes restriction, he actually did look pretty good in this game. He makes things happen. You really hope these injuries are behind him soon, and that his minutes get incrementally upped and upped and upped. Because he makes mistakes, like anybody else, but he does also stir the drink while he's out there. I love watching him play, and his potential remains really exciting.
Max Picard, Pete. He continues. I mean, he had one of two games this week. This one was outstanding for him. I thought 12 minutes, 6 points, 2 blocks, one from behind. He altered several more shots. He got a steal. He turned it over once. Again, this was another step forward for Max, I think. 4 of those points were finishing alley-oops, which is always the most fun way to score.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And they were kind of in a row too, right?
Yeah.
Like at the bat, like not quite, were they back to back? But they were in the course of just
sure as hell felt like it.
One shift. So yeah, he really seemed to already be building rapport. And when he's that long, you have such a wide margin of error, right? You throw it up anywhere close to the basket, and he's got that big rubber band body where he just goes and gets it and throws it down.
He's so much fun, man. He's got so much skill and so much. He's so quick for a big man. I love his potential, and I just want to see him get as many minutes as possible because I think he's worth keeping around. I think he's a 4-year guy here, and I think he could honestly be all conference A10 by his junior year.
Yeah, I think he's got that ceiling for sure. By the way, Anya is leading the league in rebounding. 10.2 rebounds.
Son of a bitch! Don't come in here. Don't come in here with facts.
Number 2 is Rasheer Fleming at 9 rebounds per game. So he's got over a 1 rebound a game margin. And if you just look at conference games, he is also up there, 12.5 per game. And number 2 is Waltz on Richmond has 12 per game. So if you take the whole season and including non-conference or just conference, he's got it either way you slice it. So he may end up doing the thing, Zach.
This was an odd game for Kobe Johnson, but Pete, it felt like a step forward, and of course the St. Joe's game felt like 3 steps forward.
Yeah, so in this game, you don't see it on the box score, right? 31 minutes, 2 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 4 steals, 3 fouls, a turnover. Sometimes you think like, oh, he's all the way back. And sometimes you think maybe his shoulder's still bothering him, or maybe he's just not the right fit on this team. But his defensive effort in this game, I thought, was really solid. And as you said, yeah, the St. Joe's game certainly flips the script on him too.
The Billikens slash line ended up at a really nice, as our friend the Rothbot would say, troika.
Yeah.
Dude, he says it like 5 times in a row, and you're just like, okay, dude. It's like trying to make fetch happen.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway,
his catchphrases get old.
Tell us about the slash line here.
603 overall, which is great. 381 from 3, fine, and 714 from the line, which I think for this team you would take. That 3-point percentage was above 40% for most of the game. So that's you missed a couple late. That's fine. Meanwhile, Fordham went under 40% overall, under 28% from 3, and then they shot exactly the same from the free throw line as us. I guess there's an alternate version of this game, Zach, where they hit more from the outside because they did miss a lot of open shots, but man, they just don't seem to have very good shooters. It's not like the numbers here said, well, they're normally shooting 40% or anything like that. They don't have great shooters. They have a couple high volume guys who shoot a really low percentage, and then it's just nothing about this game made you think that they were going to keep it close.
I always thought think it's interesting how much people put on closeouts on 3-point defense and less on the idea that you are making them rush shots or making them take a shot they don't want. Mm-hmm. And I think in this one, yeah, they had some open shots, but I think a lot of the threes, even when they were open, were affected by the defense, prior to the shot being taken.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And some of that is just like, hey, he's shooting 28%. If he's going to take that at this point in the shot clock, don't kill yourself getting out there on him. right? Like just go rebound the thing instead. And that they did, slew out, rebounded the Rams by 10. Fordham did have one more offensive board. I think it was 8-7, and some of those were frustrating. But overall, we beat them there.
Yeah, I think that could be that obviously could be a problem when you're either playing a team or when you're either not guarding the three well, or you run into a team who is shooting well. If they miss and you give them an offensive rebound, that's just like facts that the next 3-point shot is an easier shot.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's also the team that's just like airballing or clanking shots so hard that like you can be in position and always go your way.
There's I think
they had a few of those.
We'll talk about that in the St. Joe's game as well.
Yeah.
The Billikens lost the turnover battle by 2, but I don't think we're willing to, sound the alarm on that.
No, it wasn't a huge number overall, especially in the second half. And one of those was letting the clock wind down at the end. So I don't think they did a bad job of protecting the ball in this game. When you see way more hustle, you can kind of forgive, certain things. Like there were times where we'd turn it over in the middle of a 9-0 run or something like that, and you're like, well, I'm not too mad about it because like the effort, the energy's there. Maybe they just made one too many passes or got a little overexcited, or they went for a loose ball and had it for a second and kicked it out or something like that. Those aren't the kind of turnovers you get mad about.
Yeah, I thought this was a game where they probably could have even gone further or given the bench even more minutes, especially when you did run into those times where kind of like pulling your goalie, you need a change of energy in a hockey game, like bringing in the subs, like a guy like Warlick even more, could kind of come in and settle the team down. But Fordham came in with a reputation for its defense in a little bit. Like, for the teams under Keith Ergo, they have been known for defense. This one wasn't good, but they had physicality as well. And again, I thought the Billikens handled it as well as they have all season.
Yeah, I think so. And it was one of those things like I when I was doing the scout on them, I was kind of like, it's Fordham, we'll be okay, and then you were kind of like, they are a pretty physical team, and I'm looking at some of their measurements and I'm like, Tripp's pretty big, and they've got a couple bigs down low who are big solid bodies, and yeah, maybe there is a little bit to that. But the way they played, Zach, was just like
bizarre.
If you had told me this was like an early season tournament game or something like that, right? Yeah. There's a bunch of transfers and it's still November, but like it's the end of December and it's conference season, and some of these guys have been there for 2 or 3 years. I'm like, they looked very discombobulated for that profile.
Like, right? They were just coming off a Christmas break, perhaps.
One in which they got a little too comfortable on the couch.
God. No, again, I'm saying that because the Billikens have not handled physicality well.
Yeah, that's
and fair. So, again, Billikens handled it. The refs were fine. Announcers were good, actually.
Yeah, so is this their
this is the NESN team.
Right. Yeah. So the network is, has the Yankees and Rangers and stuff like that, right? Like so it makes sense.
I think they have the Mets because Yankees are on Yes.
Oh yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Right. But there are pro.
Yes. Sports. They're the RSN. They're the regional sports network.
In the biggest media market in the country.
Correct.
So it makes sense that they actually have some quality there, and we're not getting the local yokels out there. I thought they were good. The refs, like the game was look, they let them play. It was 13-13 in fouls. Both teams shot and made the exact number of free throws. On paper, you can ask for nothing else, but at no point during this game was I kind of like, the refs are bad. So
also Fordham
I love a game like that where I just don't need to think about them.
Yeah, also Fordham has a history of pumping out big-time sports broadcasters. Tony Reale.
Oh, yeah.
Other people that I can't think of right now, but there's a couple.
Sure.
Just trust me on that. Just,
I'll believe you. I'm going to go to their Wikipedia page and see what broadcasters came from. But yeah, no, I think you're right.
I know Tony Reale. I don't know about any other ones.
I think we got to get up to Rose Hill Gym someday.
I
It's 100 years old.
It's not getting any younger.
It's not getting any younger, and neither am I. So someday I got to get up there.
We should
old gyms.
I think we're gonna have to probably wait for 2027 because I doubt we'll be up there again next year.
Yeah, that could be. But 2027 is also Maui. Well, you're saying 26, 27,
Yeah,
not 27,
well,
28.
it's Fordham.
Okay.
I mean, it'd be,
Right.
Yeah. Well, oh yeah, we got to go to Maui. Okay, yeah. I was like, Maui and Fordham aren't going to happen at the same time. Like, I don't understand.
No, I'm just thinking for myself, like how many
Yeah.
trips can I pull off in a season? If Maui's one of them, the answer is probably not many. But yeah, that's definitely a bucket list venue I want to see, even if they don't always pack the place.
Pete, let's talk about a 73-57 win versus St. Joe's Friday, January 3rd. I think both of us were nervous about this game because we felt that St. Joe's is kind of like a box of chocolates.
Yeah, that's for sure. We saw a crazy game with them last season in which they decided to move to a zone in the second half of a game that they were winning and allow Gibson Jimerson to shoot SLU back into the game and win it. And, that was a game where I was just laughing at the end of it. I was kind of like, what are you guys doing? So coming off of that last year, it's like, I know this is a talented team, but I know that they are capable of just anything in a game. And this season, they lost to a team like Central Connecticut State. And then they've beaten pretty good teams. So you're Virginia Tech, Villanova, you're like, I don't quite know here. I mean, like they've got really good players. So that had me nervous, but yeah, you again, the effort was there at both ends, Zach, and there's, doing that at home, it just made SLU look so good in this game against guys who were good basketball players.
Yeah, I got to the game, Pete. By the way, got the hockey jersey. Again, it's like a $10 jersey, so I mean it's not much to look at. It'll probably fall apart in a couple years, but it's fine.
It looks cool from a distance.
I think I would pay $20 for something a little bit better, personally. But yeah, I mean, great idea. The tumbler's up next, I think, and then I think there's another thing coming down the line as well. The Lou cups were great. I don't know. I like them. I'm a simple kind of guy, but I felt like I was being punked when I got to my seats. Because as I sit down, and mind you, I don't sit anywhere near the St. Joe's bench. I sit on the end of like the opposite of the student section.
Yeah.
Eric Reynolds' parents, or two people that I assume are Eric Reynolds' parents because they're wearing his NIL merchandise, are sitting in the two seats next to mine. And this game, it could have gone either way for me. It really, I am slowing down in my old age. I am. What do they call it? I'm like tempering. Like I'm winding down, right? But I mean, if a player's family member is cheering, any road team, any road fan, it drives me up a wall. Like Dayton games are the toughest for me. Thank God the Billikens won this and Eric Reynolds played like absolute dog poo.
Yeah.
This was great. I had fun.
Yeah, I think when you look at like a European soccer game and there's just a row of security in between the visitor section and the home section, it's like
we need to bring that to America.
That's for you. That's like you are the fan who that is for.
I think Chaifetz during the Dayton game, I think they should roll out security. Like just to mess with the Dayton fans, the visiting Dayton fans, just roll out security down that row coming down, or in front of the student section, just to make them look like caged animals. That's what you got to do it. Do it.
That's right.
But the Billikens had everything clicking early in this game, Pete.
They got out to an 18-8 lead, and we're looking pretty sharp early, Zach. St. Joe's went into a press. Slew
At
made
least
some
it wasn't a zone.
substitutions. Yes, and then turnovers became a bit of a problem. The Hawks took their first lead with a little over 7 minutes to go, 22-20. And at this point, that's a 10-2 run in the wrong direction. And you're going like, oh, I went from feeling pretty good for the second game in a row to now being like, oh no, like what's going on here?
Yeah, I mean, dude, like, I don't know. In that moment, it just felt like, I don't know. It felt like I didn't have that release that I had with the Fordham game, but it was, the team was playing hard. They were putting an effort on the court. They were making shots. When this team isn't making shots early, then I'm going to start getting nervous. If this team isn't playing defense, then I'm really getting nervous. They were doing both of those things, and it just seemed like it was in a lull. And, I know people like freak out whenever everybody's like, oh, here comes the dry spell or the drought, first half.
Yep.
Dude, it's college basketball. Like, that's college basketball. They're not that good.
But it happened notably when we went to the bench. And
okay, I see what you're doing. I see what you're doing here. And
I'm pulling you into this conversation.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay. Look, again, it is. Yeah. I mean, look, Schertz is going to have to find a way to give these guys more minutes and find a way to not, I guess, stagnate the offense.
Yeah.
So, I mean, again, I don't know. I think you can't just play the five guys. So you're going to have to figure this out. And I still think Picard, Warlick, and Brockhoff can give you good minutes in the time you need. But again, you're going to have to find a way to rotate those guys in, so you're not just you can't just do it like the NBA where they send in, the second unit and, dude, NBA games drive me up a wall. It'd be like 30-point lead. It'd be a 30-point lead after the first quarter, and then it's a tie game, and then it's awful. But anyway, yeah, I think it's just about getting that rotation solidified. And again, that's why I was frustrated in the early season when you don't get and we're going to talk at length about kind of Avila and Swope after we finished kind of going through the nitty gritty of the game. But it is what it is. It's first home conference game, and the Billikens. I mean, look, he stuck with the subs until it was necessary, and I don't think I think -2 is fine. I think the way we were dominating St. Joe's, it's whatever.
Yeah. I just think there is some cause for concern when you can't give Robbie a breather without the offense really becoming a problem, right? Like it looks so good when it runs through him, and when you don't have him out there, it really becomes stagnant. As you're
going to have to find a new way to score.
Agreed. Yeah, you probably got to look for more in transition, but that leads me to point number 2, which is they looked really discombobulated, nervous, unprepared, whatever you want to call it, against the press.
Yeah.
The younger guys really coughed it up pretty easily in the press, or they panicked, or they rushed it, and then had trouble getting into the offense from there. So the starters come back in. SLU goes on a 7-0 run, and then they have a 7-point lead at halftime after Jimerson hit that 3 off an inbounds play with 2.5 seconds left. So it just it just looked like one of those games. We all said it in the first half when SLU got things back on track, was just like, oh, okay, we just can't go to the bench in this game.
Yeah, it's a bummer.
St. Joe's, as much as we rip on them, St. Joe's does have a very high level of talent, athleticism, size for this conference. And we're not going to run into that with everyone in the conference, but they are the kind of ones, it is the kind of matchup where they can punish younger guys a little bit more than some of the other teams will. So anyway, it was very stark in this game more than any other.
Yeah. Schertz called that timeout though. Well, I want to get back to that 3-point play because that was I don't know if it, and I know people are gonna call me blasphemous, but Ford's little out of bounds play where he would have Jimerson trigger to somebody in that one corner, and then as soon as he triggered it, Jimerson would sprint to the other corner, and
Mm,
they would wrap the ball around. That play was fantastic. That was one
yeah.
of the coolest plays I think Ford has ever drawn up. I think this one, I mean, it's close for me, but this was a beautiful play, and I know that when he called that timeout, at least among people around me, there was anticipation, and of course there were the classic like Swope logo 3 jokes flying.
Yeah, and then there on online it was okay, what's he going to draw up, and don't you in this situation, don't you reminisce for the Cruise era where we would have just thrown it into the backcourt, and play it out of the backcourt even with under 3 seconds left and stuff like that. So
Throw it into the backcourt for a half court heave.
exactly, yeah. So yeah, I mean, you couldn't have asked for anything more on the play to finally get Jimerson an open look, and it was one of those kind of quick twitch threes where he kind of catches high, releases high, and burned the rest of the clock. So you couldn't have asked for anything more. Go into
Does his
halftime with a
shot
little bit of momentum and a 7 point lead instead of a 4 point lead.
does his shot seem to look better or like fall more when it's more kind of on a line drive? Like I feel like the more
Where
arches
he has the higher catch and release to
yeah,
begin
like
with.
it. No, well, his like ones where it just sneaks over the rim are the ones
Mm,
that seem to like. I don't know. It's it feels like his makes are always a little bit more line drive than a looping shot, but
right.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just an idiot, which is possible. Again, the Bills went up double digits in the second half, but the Hawks made a run at it, closing it to two, again with Avila on the bench.
Yeah, it was just one of those games, Zach. We
Yeah.
got him back in, righted the ship, built the lead back up, but this just was not a night for the bench. 0 points in 20 minutes. The plus minus reflects that with all negatives on the bench, except Warlick, who played just a few seconds, I think, and he was at 0. And all positives in the starting lineup. Plus 17 was actually the lowest number in the starting lineup. So it was just a tale of the starters versus the bench in this game, and um, yeah, obviously we've got to mitigate that. We've got to get deeper, got to get them going, got to get healthy. I mean, that's part of it too. So we'll see that develop over the course of the season. But if these starting five stay healthy, they're going to be a problem for everybody.
Yeah, 4 of the 5 combined for 20 assists.
Yeah, yeah, fantastic ball movement, I thought, in this game. And you talk about like we don't have an actual point guard, but this was the kind of game where you don't really worry about that because they're all distributing. They're all doing what they need to do. They're all cutting. Swope had 8, Avila 5, again, felt like more. Anya had 4. Johnson had 3. Just fantastic ball movement and cutting. I thought they took what they did in Fordham and then took it to the next level in this game against a better team. And you want them to make that step again against Bonaventure on Wednesday. Just keep this motion going, keep the off ball movement going.
3-point shooting. Swope and Avila were a little under 50% from 3, 8 of 17. The rest of the team was 1 of 11, including 1 of 7 from Jimerson. But that one was a big one there at half.
It was, and he got some looks as the game went on, but they weren't great. You gotta give credit to St. Joe's in this game. They were all over Jimerson.
Yeah.
They didn't give him anything. Like we talked about in the Fordham game, Jimerson just was open and hitting. And whether because of that or because of their experience last year at SLU, St. Joe's wasn't giving him an inch. And you know, it's okay when everybody else is moving so well and scoring and hitting shots.
Yeah, and Jimerson was getting to the rim as well back on back cuts.
Yeah.
Swope finished with 26, Avila with 21. So clearly, Jimerson was the target of Billy Lang's ire in this one.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Big nights for both Swope and Avila, not just on the score sheet. We'll get to that later. But as Earl said, this was five-man basketball. They moved the ball around so well. Anya, Jimerson, Johnson had 9, 9, and 8. You know, it's funny. Perception, historical performance, shape opinions, they mean so much because they all scored basically the same. It's a great number from Johnson. Average night for Anya and disappointing for Jimerson. But like we said, there's no need to drag him too much. He was just hounded all night. If that's what they wanted to do, fine. We still found ways to beat him.
Johnson had a game. We kind of hinted at it in the Fordham review. He found ways to be productive offensively.
He really did. Cutting when Swope or Avila had the ball up top, he found some good layups for himself that way. His defense has been really strong and getting stronger. He made some really good passes in this game. He just seemed to like it was finally clicking for him. Like he knew where to go. He knew where to look. And as these guys are playing together more and more, you're seeing this chemistry develop. And maybe no one has made a bigger jump than he has over the last few games.
Anya, 15 rebounds. I asked for it and I received it.
There it is.
Five extra in this game. Avila grabbed 11. That is something that we have not seen an inkling of, and I'd love to see it in this game.
Yeah, and you were worried about with Avila. I mean, at least I was. I was worried about the matchup. You know, Rasheer Fleming, really athletic big man, does a lot of things for St. Joe's, can play inside out. I thought, you know, the Fordham centers, even though they did some things offensively that I liked, they're very much stay-at-home bigs, traditional centers, and Avila kind of gave them fits whenever he went out to the perimeter. But here, you know, I was worried that Fleming would kind of be able to hang with them more, and he really wasn't. He wasn't able to. And then on the glass as well, Avila just got it done. So just a good all-around night for him.
8 first half turnovers, including some absolute baffling ones. We'll talk about that. But the Billikens got it under control and finished the game with 11. That egregious turnover was Amari McCautry, who I'm not sure what's going on with him, whether it's the level of competition. I don't think it's the level of competition. I think it's a little bit, maybe injury. I don't know. But everyone in the arena was begging him to slow it up because I think that the game started to kind of break down a little bit, and he tried to get. I think it was like 2-on-3. It was like 2 offensive players to their 3, and he tried to throw a little lollipop into the front court, and it fell lovingly into the hands of a Hawk player.
Yeah, you could see it happening. It was on the near baseline, right?
You knew what he was thinking. You could read his mind.
Saw it a mile away. You really did. He was trying to get it over him, you know. And it's like, hey, Amari, they're still moving, right? Like he can go get that ball. You can't throw that lob. It was, he just tried to like a quarterback.
Yeah,
you know,
so he wanted him to Jim Edmonds it.
It happened in slow motion, and the other one that was really confounding. There was one where Swope stopped in the backcourt. They hadn't crossed the timeline yet, and he second guessed himself and held his hands a little bit and just kind of chucked the ball up in the air and right to a defender. So, and he immediately like shook his head and stomped and knew it was, you know, idiotic. He knew he made a big mistake. So there were a few bad ones. I think those happened in the span of a few minutes as well.
Talk about that ball movement and cutting that we talked about in the Fordham game, because it came up in the post-game quotes for this one.
Yeah, I mean, Robbie acknowledged it. He said they've just been getting better at it, and then it just takes time to learn how to play with each other. You know, Swope said it's all coming together at the same time. They're not the same team that played at Santa Clara. Anya more or less said the same thing, that they're thinking less, they're getting more comfortable. But you could see it, Zach, like in the game before, was it Fordham or was it even before Fordham? I think it was Fordham, where Avila had the ball up high, and I'm sitting on my couch, and there was just there was a second or two where there was just no movement, and there was so much space on the wing, and I just yelled, "Cut!" Like I'm just scream, "Cut!" And finally, I think it was Johnson made a cut, got the ball, or Jimerson. Sorry, Jimerson did, and that it was a Jimerson layup in that case, and it was like okay. But in this game, I felt like there were no like awkward pauses or anything like that. And like, look, we scored 73. We didn't go absolutely bananas in this game. I think a lot of it had to do with the pace of the game being a little bit slower than we expected. But guys were just moving, like they were just moving on every possession, and there's that flow to it. Like you were finally seeing it start to kind of look like it did at Indiana State, where even though the personnel is different and some of the movements are different and all that kind of stuff, you never watched that team, and it was never like hero ball. There's never like a guy on 5 guys around the perimeter just kind of like waiting to get loose. It was just guys moving, like screening, cutting, always moving, and like making the right reads. Right? Yeah, it's just man when it's clicking, it's really a thing to watch.
Yeah, I certainly get the clicking. Question, because the offense obviously had room to grow. But I think this offense has been fairly competent for this entire season, and I'm glad that it is doing better. Yeah. I mean, Swope and Anya both saying that this is coming together.
Yeah, I mean everybody was really consistent in their post game comments. You know, they all sort of agreed, and if the fact that they're all saying the same stuff one on one with the media, and it's hey, we're all playing better together, and then they're all saying that independently. It's kind of like, all right, this like everybody's believing it now, right? So that's it's really exciting to see. SLU did give up 13 offensive rebounds, which I didn't love. They only forced 7 turnovers. So St. Joe's actually had 9 more field goal attempts than the Bills, but they just did not capitalize on that whatsoever.
We talked about the being able to capitalize on those offensive rebounds and how that could hurt the Billikens here if a team is shooting well. Like you said, the Hawks didn't capitalize, but you've got a guy like Eric Reynolds out there. That's certainly a concern.
It is, and you look at their big 3, Reynolds, Fleming, Brown. I know Brown's not 100% coming back from, I think it was a hamstring injury, and didn't play quite as much as he normally would in this game, but still all 3 of them below their season averages. I think they combined for 10 for 30 shooting from the field, if I'm not mistaken. It was just not a great game for them. But Zach, I think we can't ignore SLU's defense was pretty good. Holding them to 57 is an achievement, regardless of what you think of their program or Billy Lang or anything else like that.
I mean, I certainly would like to talk about the defense.
Sure. It's a team that scores in the high 70s, so to do that is a big deal.
Like, again, I really do think that the defense is what, defense and free throw shooting have been the thing that have been holding this team back. And to see that defensive intensity, I think has completely changed it. And that started with Grand Canyon when I believe we should have come away with a win there. But the defense in this Fordham game, in the St. Joe's game, has been the common denominator in games where we blow the shit out of teams. And I don't think that's, I think it's absolutely been more instrumental to this run than the offense kind of clicking. But I know people disagree.
Yeah, so you think that's where the bigger jump has been made as we kind of look at these first 2 conference games?
I think it probably feeds better offense and or at least an additional type of offense. And you gain confidence through that. So you gain confidence through the defense. You get on the offensive end. Now you're a little hyped up. You're engaged a little more in what's in the movement of the possession. And maybe you make another cut. Maybe you make a cut you wouldn't have made a cut if they had made a 3 down there or got an offensive rebound and a stick back, right? So I do think the defense is really the change with this team. Or maybe it's just the focus on both ends. It could be the focus on both ends, but I do think the defense has been, not talked about enough as far as the shift. in the last 2 games.
No, I don't disagree with that. I think the offense stands out more because that's kind of what the coach is known for, and it's kind of what we're looking forward to.
We played a lot of zone in this game.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, but so St. Joe's shoots 4 for 26 from 3, 15.4%. How much of that is them missing open shots? How much of that is SLU's defense? I wonder, because I thought that the effort was really good.
Well, I'll mention this is that I kind of eavesdropped on the Reynolds parents, and they were complaining pretty constantly about the amount of passing. Just way too much passing, not enough shooting. They thought they passed up shots. So, I mean, I think the Billikens defense was forcing them into something that they didn't really want to do, make them move the ball.
That's really interesting, actually. That makes it seem like, well, number one, I mean, parents always want their kid to get the
yeah. I don't really know if it was. I don't know if it was in reaction to Eric Reynolds' specific action or plays.
Well, I guess I should say St. Joe's does like to play at a pretty fast pace, and they do like to score closer to 80 a game, and get up and down the floor, and they're not a team that wants to settle into a half court offense and work it around all day. So if you hear them noticing that, it probably means that you're right. We are frustrating them into shooting deeper into the shot clock than they'd like to do.
Yeah,
and not getting those first early looks in rhythm, like to completely take them out of their natural offensive rhythm.
Yeah, I think, and again, I think to your point about the offense and to everybody's point about the offense scoring regularly down the court does take a team like St. Joe's out of that transition. They can only try to transition from the dead ball rather than a rebound. It's a little bit harder. So again, I think in both ways, it really threw off what St. Joe's wanted to do there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think you are alone either. Shirts praised the defensive effort, calling out Swope specifically, by the way.
See, I wouldn't have. Swope is the guy that I thought brought it every day. Like Swope's effort, I have never called, which it's just so fun. Like, I mean, obviously he knows ball, and I tangentially know ball. But like, actually I don't know ball, but like, I saw a great defensive effort from Swope, but I mean, I guess he's covering Reynolds in this game.
Sure. Yeah. And it's a big deal. I mean, like if we can hold all three of those guys to under their averages off shooting nights, we didn't have that thing where we have to pick like, okay, we're not going to let this guy beat us or this guy beat us. We didn't let any of them beat us. That really stood out in this game. And if Shirts is calling out the defensive effort first, I'll take his word for it. Like what you saw, what he is saying is correct. Absolutely. He also acknowledged how much the offense is coming together. He said Anya and Johnson have made the biggest jumps. Quote, they're playing out of concepts, and then they play out of those concepts. They attack based on what the defense is going to do. So he's kind of saying what the offense is supposed to look like, right? Like they have a set of concepts, you play out of those, and then kind of watch the defense and take what it gives you. And that's finally starting to happen with this team. He added, Zach, the next evolution for us is to get our bench guys going.
He's got a plan. He's got a concept of a plan.
A concept of a plan, and he needs one soon because SLU, as Stu pointed out during the game, is 362nd out of 364 teams for bench minutes this season in all of Division I.
And we are hyped up about this team.
I mean, it definitely gives you pause to go like this season, if it keeps going like it is right now, if it like this week and we kind of roll through conference, we are on a razor's edge, man, when it comes to injuries, as we should know. So we've got to get those guys, those bench guys, whoever can be healthy. Obviously that's not going to be somebody like Dotzler, but everybody's got to be healthy, on the same page.
What a bum.
And ready to get in there. Yeah, right.
Oh, okay. The Billikens are now 18-5 all time against St. Joe's. The Hawks have won only once in St. Louis, and it wasn't at Chaifetz Arena.
Man, I couldn't believe I could not remember that this was the case, but now I guess I remember it from last year. But yeah, it was January 2006, our first season in the A10. It was the first season after I graduated, Zach. And it was before Chaifetz Arena even opened. That was actually our first meeting ever. We lost to them again in the conference tournament, so we're actually 18-3 in the last 21 games against St. Joe's, which is pretty stunning because it's not like they've just been a bottom feeder that everybody's picking on. And it also surprised me because, Martelli had some good teams over those years.
Yeah.
So, we didn't play we missed him by 2 years. The Jameer Nelson and Delonte West, the team that started, 27, 28-0, whatever they were, didn't get to face that edition of St. Joe's, but still, they've had some decent teams.
Are the Lou jerseys magic?
Players liked him in the postseason. They said they loved him. They want to play in them more often. So
yeah, I mean, what do you think of that?
I whatever makes them happy, dude. And whatever they feel good in, whatever they think looks sharp.
Okay, Prime. No, I think look, if the players love them, I love them, and I would like to see them maybe, try to stick to white or blue at home, but bring them out for a Sunday game or a Friday 10 game or a blackout game or something. I thought they should have done. I would have done a blackout with that game. Like,
yeah,
just be like, hey, you wanna? Like, I would have been like free tickets if you wear black.
Yeah, that's cool.
But I got to the game. Well, real quick, while I'm thinking about it, I got to the game, and I look out on the court, and the Bills are warming up in their black shorts, and then St. Joe's is warming up in these like charcoal gray shorts, and I was like, please tell me they have other jerseys. I was like, did somebody forget to tell St. Joe's? I was like, this wouldn't be a Billiken basketball game again without something really stupid like that going on.
That would have been an absolute nightmare. I'm a little bit of a traditionalist when it comes to, home whites for me it's what I want. I like it in every sport. I just like the look of it. And I know sports have gotten away from that more than not, with the NHL flipping.
For the jersey sales.
Yes.
You don't want to have to wear the road game. Nobody wants to buy a white jersey because they're going to fill nachos on it.
I just like the way it looks. I like home white jerseys. But look, if we're not going to wear the home whites, I like this one a lot, and so do the players, and their opinion matters a lot more than mine, I think.
It definitely does. It definitely does. Yeah. I think we need to have one more discussion here to tie a bow on this beautiful gift of a week we've been given. Mm-hmm. I think you and I were probably one Blues win away from a perfect sports week.
I think you're right. Yeah.
But let's talk Avila and Swope. Of course, I've been highly critical of both these two. They are the two of our three best players, best scorers on the roster. And they came with shirts, and they most understand what it takes to win and win in Shirts' system. I don't think there's anybody on this team other than them that has won at that level. And I know I wasn't alone. I expected them to lead by example, and I think my criticisms, besides maybe Robbie's defense, were based on like non-basketball skill traits. So, but I think his poor defense was a byproduct of two of the issues that as they say, defense is just effort, and effort, focus, and toughness, I think were things that I thought this team, when it added, I thought we were going to be really, really good. And I think that's exactly what happened this week. Yes, of course, the Billikens won, and Robbie and Swope are a major factor of that on the offensive end, but the difference in their play since Grand Canyon on the defensive end has, by adding all of the traits listed there, they've been tough, offensive and defensively, especially Robbie. I thought Swope had been, his toughness and effort, I've never thought was in question. But Robbie was outstanding defensively at Grand Canyon, at Fordham, at home against St. Joe's. Swope is playing, with much more focus and care and value when it comes to individual possessions. And he's driving and passing as much as he's driving to score, and he's not forcing those 2 to 3 straight tough shots. I know there were multiple games where he'd have, like 3 straight possessions, he'd take a 3 and you're just without passing it. So many less mental errors and careless passes, and I think that goes for Avila as well. But like, they answered all my questions.
Yeah.
And by God, I am fully impressed. I really need them to keep it up and continue to make my new year wonderful. By the way, what did you think of Robbie waving the towel at Fordham? Did you see that? You didn't see that?
No, I didn't see that specifically. I thought you were actually going to ask him walking around after the game, with the camera, talking to the camera. And all
I thought it was hokey and like, look, again, like, I can't fault the guy. He's having fun out there, but anybody talking to a camera is just that they're holding like this is just kind of stupid to me. It looks really dumb to me. Again, it's not for us, I don't think.
Yeah, no, look, I'm fine with it it's in the moment. It's fun. It's all good. I loved, by the way, the 3.5 minute video they put together that started with shirts talking in the locker room. I thought that was really well made.
Yeah.
And that was what a great snapshot of the game. It had his voice, and then they put Earl and Rammer over.
That was kind of why did that that was weird, because I thought it might have been an oversight. That was interesting. I was confused.
It wasn't interesting. Well, because they weren't using game footage; they were using their own footage from the baseline. We're talking about the Neislers.
No, but they did. So they did Earl and Ram. Okay, I'm sorry. So most of the video was Earl and Rammer, and then there was a small snip where the volume was the TV broadcast.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I was
I guess so.
I was like, wait, what happened? But no, I thought it was awesome. I'm more of a fan of the NHL style highlights where they give you the TV camera and they just show you the play as it happened. The big plays of the night, the goals. But I like the cinematic approach as well. If you're gonna do cinematic like that, go full on, and they went full on in this video.
Yeah, I thought it was cool. The back to Swope and Avila, a couple points just to tack on. I like your point about Swope having more, looking to pass more, right?
Yeah.
Like when he penetrates too many times, he's been kind of either whether this is coming from him or him, misreading the defense or whatever.
Or players not cutting.
Or players not cutting. He's kind of being baited into taking, bad shots. But when he's driving with more purpose and already has his passing options spotted, it all works a lot better. And so when he does take a step back 3 or something like that, it's not in the context of having missed the previous 5. It's all a lot more natural. It's all within the flow of the game, and he's playing in the flow of the game now, and that works a lot better. I think when we talk about the improvement out of these two, with Swope, it almost feels like it comes more from within. With Avila, it almost comes more from without. Like it's the other players on the team all stepping up and making him that much more valuable, like by them cutting, by them making the right reads in the offense. So it's really notable. The improvement that everybody's made to make him look better, I think.
Next up will be a really tough test for the Billikens. It is probably after this week, I think they are kind of the favorite in the conference right now, given the results. It's St. Bonaventure Bonnies. This is shocking.
Yeah, Zach. They are 14-1 overall. They're off to a 2-0 start in conference. By the way, Mark Schmidt is in his 18th season at Bonaventure, just in case anyone.
He's going nowhere.
It's amazing. Their only non-conference loss was to Utah State, who's very good again, despite having their third coach in 3 years. And they had wins over Providence and Northern Iowa. All 3 of those were on neutral floors. They've beaten a lot of weaker programs, although I do give them credit for going on the road a lot more than you would think. They go to regional rivals like Canisius, Bucknell, and Siena, and then they went down to Florida Gulf Coast as well. In A10 play so far, They beat VCU at home, tough opening assignment, and then they beat Fordham on the road. It was kind of a lot like our game at Fordham, but the New York City-based Bonnie alums showed up in a big way for that game, so it wasn't much of a road game. It sounded a lot more like a home game when they were doing well. I did watch a bit of that one. Like a lot of Mark Schmidt teams, they have a strong top six, and they really don't go deeper than that. But one of those top guys is hurt right now. 6'2" sophomore guard Desante Bowen is a transfer from Iowa. He was averaging about 11, 4, and 4 over the first 10 games of the season before injuring his foot. He was in a boot for the Fordham game. From what I can find, and I can't find anything that's like really updated, but they were hoping he'd be ready for conference play and just hasn't been available yet. SB Unfurled, our buddy on Twitter, seems to think that it'll be another week or two before he's healthy enough to go. And it's a situation where like what we had with Robbie earlier, which was like, don't rush him back. But if anything changes in the next few days, we will be sure to share that on our Twitter feed. Until then, we've got to be prepared for the 5 starters, really. Chance Moore is the leading scorer, averaging 14.8 points per game, 7.4 rebounds per game. He's a 6'5", 195-pound junior transfer from Missouri State. He was actually number 5 in the Fordham game, so if you just watched that one, you never would have known that he was their number 1 guy. But overall in the season, he has been. The standout in the most recent game was 6'4" junior guard Melvin Council. He's a transfer from Wagner. He's up to 14.4 points a game, 5.3 rebounds a game, and just under 4 assists. He had 24 points in the Fordham game and 8 assists to go with 5 steals. So he was just all over the place. And, people were talking about him as a potential pro prospect after that one. I don't know if that's them just getting excited, but he certainly has a really complete game, exciting player. And I think he's even better in the early going than they thought he would be. The 6'10", 250-pound senior center is Noel Brown. He's a transfer from George Washington, averaging 12.9 points and 4.6 rebounds. His size is going to make him a bit of a matchup problem for Avila. He had a great game up at Fordham against the guys that we just beat as well. But yeah, big centers have been a challenge this year for us. 6'7" junior guard LeJay Jones started out at Tarleton State and then went to Barton Community College last year. So he's at his 3rd school in 3 years, but he's caught on quickly. 10.3 points, 5.7 rebounds from him. And then there's 6'3" sophomore guard Jonah Hinton, who's a transfer from Panola College, another JUCO. He was the 6th man until Bowen got hurt, and he's at 8.3 points a game. Now, this team is not an offensive powerhouse by any means. They don't take or make many three-pointers. They average about 6.6 attempts, 6.6 makes on 20.1 attempts per game, so just over 20, and that's just under 33%. But they went 9 of 19 at Fordham, which is more like 47%. Although, again, we saw Fordham's perimeter defense, so it might have more to do with them. But they're one of the best defensive teams in the nation, period. They allow just 61.1 points a game. They lock down the perimeter. Teams shoot just over 31% against them. They don't really give you much inside either. Teams shoot 47.1% inside the arc, under 30 attempts per game. Those are both pretty strong numbers. If you look at national averages, they don't foul much at all. 13 a game for the team. Top 10 in the nation in low fouls. This is all despite creating a lot of steals, which is about 9 a game. They don't turn it over much though. 10.6 per game. Extremely disciplined team when you put all of that together. They're big, they're athletic, they play well together, even though a lot of them are new this season, and none of the top 6 have been there for longer than 2 years. They're also, Zach, consistent with their effort over the course of a game. They don't really give up big runs. So I do have some questions about what their numbers would look like against a tougher schedule, but they've proven they can win on the road, and their consistency from game to game and then within the course of a game suggests that they can kind of challenge anyone on any given night. This is going to be a super interesting test for an offense like SLU's that's just starting to come together in conference play. I'm super excited for this game. Like I can't wait. They don't scare me offensively, but I really want to see what our offense looks like against their defense. That's going to be a really, really exciting matchup. It could be the game of the week to watch in the A10. The only issue is I think this one's only on Peacock, right?
Yeah, by the way, Peacock, they're very good with using multiple profiles. So if you have a friend, reach out. They should be able to hook you up.
I know probably years ago now they had a free trial, but I don't think they do that anymore.
Streaming is dystopian.
Yeah. It kind of is.
You still get freaking ads. I'm excited for this matchup. I'm a little nervous about attendance, obviously, a Wednesday night. But then again, maybe the snow will have melted here in St. Louis and people are ready to get the hell out of the house.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't think based on what people are saying, on what they've seen of Ticketmaster so far, it doesn't look like a whole lot are sold. I don't think the students are back yet. I think they've got another week. So there are some challenges here. I hope you're right that cabin fever is setting in at that point, 48 to 72 hours out from all these storms starting. So hopefully people are getting out of their house, but that's one way to avoid having to deal with Peacock. But why don't you take us around the A10, Zach?
Oh boy, let's have some fun.
Yes.
If you do not stick around for around the A10, you are going to miss out. Tuesday the 31st, 77-75, St. Bonaventure wins over VCU. A10 game of the day. Bonaventure hits a layup with 3 seconds left to beat the Rams. George Mason, 69. Nice. Davidson, 57. Dayton, 84. LaSalle, 70. Duquesne, 67. Fraud Island, 55. St. Joe's, 81. UMass, 72. Richmond, 66. Are we going to call them frauds? Fraud Washington, 61. Saturday,
how could you say that about our first president? How dare you?
That's true. Saturday the 4th, I didn't vote for him.
Don't blame me. I didn't vote for George Washington.
Let's see. Saturday the 4th, George Washington, 82. Checks notes. Dayton, 62. Not Fraud Washington.
I mean, they're my favorite team after that.
I've told you about like when I get when something wild happens at a Billiken game that gets me hyped up, and like that guttural like that happened 3 possessions in a row to end this Dayton game, and then just ended with a string of like the most evil laugh I've ever heard come out of me.
Did you watch this whole thing?
Yes.
Amazing.
It was something to behold. There are people that are saying that like Dayton fans like, oh, of course they shit the bed. Dude, George Washington beat the shit out of them.
And they didn't have Darren Buchanan, their best player.
I like this team without Darren Buchanan.
You like him better?
I love Drumgoole over Rasul. Let me tell you.
Interesting.
I loved the way this game was called by the officials. I mean, I'm sure Dayton fans are going to be pissed, but like I said in the Discord, I like more body contact than is allowed in basketball. Like, I think you should be able, like, in the paint, I think you should be able to back in a guy and a guy give it back to you. 100%. As long as it's not the arms or the legs making contact, I think any and all contact with the body is good. In the post. And, okay, I went a little crazy, but you get the idea. Ain't nothing wrong with a little bump and grind, all right?
I gotta shout out Jack, Jack Godar, our buddy, who had the best tweet after this game. It's already got like 80 likes too. It's really unfair that the A10 forces Dayton to actually play conference basketball games when they're so much better than the rest of the A10. Great attendance, rabid fan base. The A10 fails Dayton by not giving them an automatic 18-0 until they get out of this dog shit conference. To me, that was so like the entitlement and the arrogance that Dayton fans have been walking through, and I would like to say not just this season, but forever.
I mean, like, I can understand.
Completely undeserved.
Yeah, yes. I can certainly understand where they're coming from, but shut the fuck up.
It's probably, and as much as it's kind of like, I think of the BFIB, the best fans in baseball.
Dude, they are. There's nothing else to do in that rinky-dink ass town other than watch the Dayton Dutch Lions. I don't even know that exists anymore. They can't even keep a soccer team. The Dayton, whatever baseball team they have in the summer. And then the Dayton Flyers. They don't even have a hockey team. How does an upper Midwest city not have a freaking hockey team?
It's a good question. I got to say, as someone
they should actually renovate Dayton Arena, UD Arena, just get rid of basketball and just put a hockey. Prime. It's a waste of prime real estate. I tell you what.
I got to say, as someone who lives in southwestern Ohio, there is no hockey culture whatsoever here.
It's just nonsense. Nonsense.
Yeah, but it's anyway. Like I really enjoyed that.
It was awesome.
I guess it's clear that you and I right now are not the kind of fans who are like, we need to root for the best.
Yeah, no. Agent of Chaos. I love watching. Like, I don't care. Like, this team. Like, again, Dayton fans need to stop giving a shit about the conference. Mm-hmm. Like, just root for insanity. Like, you're not gonna get in an at-large bid until the top 4 teams in this conference are like in the top 50. It's not.
The reason they quote unquote root for the conference is because it benefits them, right?
Yes.
Like when you're the team who's the highest rated in the conference and you're rooting for what's best for the conference, they mean that they want to win out, like, and they just want to see one of the other stronger teams like kind of win out. It's completely self-interested. It's not. It's not rooting, like they care about anyone else.
No, I am rooting. I root for the conference to make good decisions, like hire good coaches, yes. Look to expand to good programs that are going to improve. The A-10 should not add unless it's going to be a team that's going to make a run at an at-large bid in conference. So until Bernadette McGlade decides to go the SEC route and tell everyone they need to get their shit together, this conference is not going to have 3-4 bids. Like, I don't care.
Yeah, we've talked about it forever, but I applaud Dayton and VCU on their consistency, but it seems like no one else is that consistent from year to year. As much as we're talking about like St. Bonaventure right now, in those 18 seasons that Mark Schmidt's been there, 3 tournament appearances, right? I mean, it's not bad. It's better than some other teams in the conference, but it's like
it's good for being within the Arctic Circle.
Right.
It's really good when you're located above Canada.
Yeah. When you have to take people on campus visits where the snow is taller than they are.
Do you need a Sherpa to get to campus? Then it's very hard to recruit there.
Yeah.
Richmond 72, UMass 64. Richmond, the Fire Mooney billboards were getting ready to go up a week ago, and now they're 2-0 after being the worst A-10 team in conference play. There is not a more sicko basketball conference than the Atlantic 10, Pete.
Yeah, it has delivered, man. This first week has absolutely delivered.
St. Bonaventure wins a home game at Rose Hill Gym, 86-66 against Fordham. Davidson goes into Duquesne and wins 77-71 after trailing by as many as 12, needing a big second half. VCU 84, Loyola 65. VCU, this game looked back and forth to the end, but VCU pulled away late, ending on a 22-6 run. And then finally, we have Rhode Island beating George Mason, 62-59. Which of these is the fraud? Are they both frauds? Can they both be frauds, Pete?
I mean, Rhode Island looked like frauds after that first loss, but this guy...
They looked like frauds in the first half.
Yes, they did. Mason led most of the game, including by 9 at halftime. Sebastian Thomas, this guy has on Rhode Island,
That's my
has hit
confirmation name, by the way.
multiple game winner. Sebastian,
Yeah.
yes, good one, good one.
Patron saint of athletes, dog.
Oh no, no wonder. So he hits a circus shot runner to go up with. Did you see the shot, by the way? To go up two with under a
I
second left.
didn't.
He
Oh,
was
yes, I
fouled
did.
on the play and hit the free throw, so the game was over. I think he's hit like 3 game winners now this season or something like that. So if they're in a close one, that's definitely the guy to look out for. Look, yeah, they played a super soft schedule. They pulled this one out somehow. Mason fell apart. It was an ugly, low scoring game. I don't know. I don't have a lot of confidence in either
This
of those
is
teams.
this is what we expected when we picked Rhode Island over Duquesne for our A10 Survivor picks. We, however, lost in that game. We're down to our 2 individual entries. I have Dayton over LaSalle. I had Dayton over LaSalle, which was a win. I decided, Pete, I think I need to explain this. My thought process was I have no idea what this conference is going to do. So
Fair.
with my pick, I am going to throw away Dayton the first week, see what we got, and then make an informed pick for next week. Pete, you had St. Joe's.
I took St. Joe's over UMass because I thought UMass was just terrible this year. And I thought, like, okay, St. Joe's is capable of losing to a UMass on any given night. But on night 1 of A10 play at home, I just thought they'd be too much. And this game was very close until about 2.5 to 3 minutes left. And then St. Joe's finally made it like a 3 possession game and kind of held that margin to the end. So they made me nervous, but yeah, you and I are still alive in the winners bracket. There is a second chance bracket. You have to lose twice before you're out. So we'll still get picks for all 3 next week, but we can't win the big money with the podcast anymore. It's just got to be you or me.
Yeah, I think UMass is however, as bad as like Frank Martin is dressing that day.
Ugh.
He has showed up to games looking like he just spent the night at a mistress's place.
Yeah,
He's like, oh, he dresses like I did when I was like 17 or 18, and I forgot my belt to my grandpa's funeral, and I was just like, fuck it, I'm gonna go untucked in suit, in like an express suit.
I think we talked about it that night, and I was like, he does look like, the uncle who's like the blue collar, guy who never wears a suit, and then he wears one to a wedding every other year, and nothing kind of fits right, and it all looks off. And I'm like, you're a basketball coach. How do you not have like tailored suits that fit?
Or
and
just wear the freaking the jumpsuit
sweater or whatever. Yeah. Like now that nobody wears suits anymore, why are you wearing suits that
that's
don't
my point.
fit? And so, yeah, Frank Martin and then Billy Lang at SLU. I was like, what do you guys wear? You guys look, it all looks off. Like, if you are going to wear a suit, wear like a tailored, like a suit that fits.
Please don't look like a 11-year-old going in for like their communion or something.
Oh, man. No, yeah, my rented prom tuxedo in 2000 fit better than whatever they're wearing.
They look like guys at the 2005 draft.
The 4-button suits that are enormous.
Yeah. A little note from the conference: VCU will begin compensating its athletes directly in 2025. Okay.
Yeah, so I thought, we at least need to acknowledge this. I thought maybe we should have a bigger discussion on it, but I don't, we got into some other stuff tonight, and I don't necessarily want to spend too much time on it. But basically, VCU is saying they expect their annual budget to be $4 to $5 million. And it kind of, begs some questions here, Zach. Like, what's SLU's plan? Where's this revenue going to come from? Especially given our attendance lately, we're not bringing in a ton of revenue. Is there going to be a student fee? Is this what the Billiken Victory Fund is going to become? I think these are all things to consider. And what's extra interesting in this case is that VCU is one of the few state schools in the conference, right? Especially now that we're losing UMass. We're basically down to them and Rhode Island and Who am I forgetting?
Well, UMass is gone.
UMass is leaving, right? So we don't have a lot of state schools in the A10, so it's a little bit different because it's now like, well, are these public employees? The way that you could like look up the salaries of people in the University of Missouri system, for example. I don't know how this is all going to work. So those are just the kind of questions that are on my mind. I hope SLU is out in front of this and thinking about this. I hope, and I hope there's a plan for all of this.
There's a concept of a plan.
I don't want it to. I think at VCU, I think there's going to be a student fee increase to kind of do some of this.
The thing with this is that like when people say like the compensation is coming from part of profit sharing or whatever, like it's the profit includes, I think someone mentioned on the Discord, might have been Jack, but like the profit's going to include straight donations for this.
Yeah.
So there's a world in which like they should just sponsor the roster. Like why don't we just have people sponsor the roster at this point? That's basically what the BVF is. I don't know what's going to happen, man. I doubt student fees. I can't see a single. I don't know. It's going to have to be some external sources of capital that step up. I know what they say, multi-million next year is the NIL. It sounds like. Yeah. So again, I think this is obviously kind of bare bottom. What you got to do.
Yeah, I think.
I don't know what's going to happen though with it. I don't know what happens.
My assumption all along is that the majority of this is going to come from outside donors.
Yes.
You know, like we're just it's just how it's going to.
And that's why I wouldn't worry about the president. And that's why I wouldn't worry about the new president.
Yeah, I look at it like the coaching salary, right? Where it's like, you know, people within the school can complain all they want, but it's really not the school paying it. Even though the school is paying it,
yes.
It's money coming into the school for that reason. It's a designated. Yes. Reason. So I kind of think this is going to be the same deal.
Exactly.
What it all means for employment law and transparency and those kind of things, I don't know. I just don't know yet. Does this mean what was not a tax-free donation to the Billiken Victory Fund now will be because it's going through the school? I don't know all of that.
Hell yeah, brother.
It raises a lot of questions that we'll get into more over the coming months and years. But it's pretty interesting that VCU is one of the first to actually say that they're going to do it.
A couple of visitors this week. I am sorry that Eric Reynolds' dad was in my way and I couldn't get a picture of these guys to figure out who it was.
Yeah, I think if I had the picture that I had was from pretty far away, but yeah, Sheik Pearson and Tristan Reed, who we talked about before, they were at the St. Joe's game. Good game for recruits to go see. These are the two bigs at John Burroughs that Schertz was out to see recently. The same time Shaka Smart was out to see them. So pretty cool to get them on campus for this game. And it's good to know that Schertz and his staff are making them 2026 priorities to have two good local big men like that. And there are more local bigs in the 2026 class, but these two are being recruited by, SEC Big Ten level programs. So we need to be in the mix.
By the way, also shout out Roland Gray, who mixes it up in 108. He's always out. He's at every game, man. That dude loves to be at games. So shout out him. I love. It makes me happy every time I see him show up at games.
Legend.
Pete, let's talk about Two Men in a Garden.
Let's do it, Zach. I got, as you know, a bunch of stuff from them lately in, a new order I placed. I talked about the pickles already and then started getting into the salsas. And I got to say, I decided to do that thing where I mix a few different levels of heat together. And I like to hit them with an immersion blender and smooth it out a little bit. It makes it a little easier because I knew I was making some tacos this week. And I got to say, they're screaming hot. It uses habanero peppers. And a lot of habanero peppers. Like the jump from mild to medium, and I think their medium is more of a mild, right? Like their spice levels are very manageable. Their hot is more of a medium plus, call it. But when you put the screaming hot into the occasion, it brings everything way up. It's a big difference. So I can say from experience now, if you put medium, hot, and screaming hot together, you wind up with something that isn't hot, right? It isn't it isn't that middle spice level. It's between hot and screaming hot, which is kind of a sweet spot for me. So I like it a lot. You get the jalapeno heat of the others, you get the habanero heat of the screaming hot, and it's still manageable because the screaming hot by itself, I think a lot of people might, our timid Midwestern palates might not all be able to handle it. So, as a recommendation, if you mix those three together, mix them all up and put them back into separate jars, you're going to wind up with a pretty good spice level. So that's my recommendation for the week. Not a very sophisticated recipe, but it's a good one. So get on over to twomeninthegarden.com. And Zach, you look like you're about to ask a question, like you're really pondering this.
I think that should, on the website, we got to talk to Joel, that we should have the Midtown Madness pack.
Okay.
And it's three salsas. It's those three salsas with that recommendations on a placard inside or in a little card.
Blend them together, put them back into the three jars, and you're going to wind up with something between hot and screaming.
I love it. I love it.
Exactly what it is.
I got to message Joel. I don't know if he's going to listen. I hope he listens. I think he does.
But you should get over to twomeninthegarden.com. Make yourself a 6-pack, get 2 of each, mix them together, and take advantage of that $9.99 nationwide shipping. I know I do.
Women's basketball, Pete. All right, that's our show. Dude, what in God's name happened? 72-55 loss against UMass at home on Thursday the 2nd. This one was weird, man. Both of these games were fucking weird.
It was weird because UMass is a team that last season went 5-27. They were picked to finish 13th in the league this year, right? Now, they're off to a 2-0 start, so they're better than people thought they would be. They came into this game at 6-6, already winning more games than they did all of last season. But that's the kind of team still, when they come into your house, you got to take care of business against them, right? They're just a bottom half conference team. But they led wire to wire. SLU made it really interesting in the second half, down 43-21 early in the third quarter. SLU goes on a tear, bringing it within 1 point, 50-49, after Shun Anumeli hit an open three to open the fourth quarter. Then she got called for a technical foul due to her little celebration afterwards. Unfortunately,
dude, she's killing me lately.
SLU is down by 2 with just over 5.5 minutes to go when UMass went on a 9-0 run, and SLU only scored once more after that. So they really taunted us, Zach. I remember texting you like, "What's up with women's basketball?" when they were down by a lot. You texted me back like, "Hey, now it's only 8." And then I went back into the game after helping get my kids down to bed, and we were down 1. That was the point where we were down 1, and I was like, "Oh, this is a game now." And then all of a sudden, it wasn't. Just quite a ride.
I wanted to pull out at some point during this week. Our bench has to be better than this. I wanted to play the bit for women's basketball. And Anumeli led SLU in scoring in this one, 16 points. And she just is killing me.
16 points on 17 field goal attempts. It's not the most efficient way to get there.
No, it's like pre McMakin.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, earlier this season, we were talking like, okay, she has a chance to be Harbison, but it does look more like early McMakin, where she'll lead the team in scoring, but she's going to take half of your shots, and you just have to deal with it and hope she's hotter than not.
Yeah. Peyton Kennedy was second with 11. She had a tough week. 2 of 8 from the field, 1 of 5 from 3. Beyond that, it was evenly spread out. Tiara Simon has been a bright spot, I think, for this team after kind of not really being a factor earlier this season.
12 rebounds in this game, but UMass had two players with double-digit boards, and they ended up with 18 more rebounds overall, unfortunately. Simon also led SLU at -2 for the game. Kennedy's plus-minus was the worst at -19. Part of that was SLU going 5 of 21 from 5 of 23 from three, which was 21.7%. Zach, it's just painful because we've seen this pattern before. They dig a huge hole, they crawl all the way out of it, and then fall right back in. UMass is much improved from last season, but this is still a team you got to beat at home. And just a frustrating one. But Zach, what if I told you it could get worse?
What if I told you it could get as the worst it could get?
I was so excited being like looking out my window, seeing the snow pile up, not really having much to do, and thinking like, I'm going to just sit here, watch this game, have myself a nice little early Sunday afternoon.
You idiot.
I mean, shame
you
on
are
me
so
for getting my hopes
dumb.
up. This was...
I felt the same way. And 5 minutes in, straight to the second screen.
Yeah, and that's the tipping point in this one, Zach. So of course we're talking about a 94-53 loss against Davidson on Sunday the 5th. We should start out by saying that we weren't sure this game would even happen, right? Like I know you
and they probably should have canceled it. I will tell you 100%. The only reason this game got played, Pete,
CBS.
National TV. Yes.
Yeah, right. Yes. Yeah, so it looked like a double-digit crowd, because of the weather and everything. Not sure when Davidson's actually going to get back home either. It was, I know a lot of flights were canceled as of earlier today, so I don't know. Look, Stu pointed out that SLU entered the game second to last in three-point defense this season. They might be last now.
They might be last in the country.
They might have iced it for the remainder of the year, no matter what happens after this, because Davidson put on an absolute clinic from three-point land, Zach. This was really something to watch. I don't think I've ever seen a team be that hot from three to open the game, but I guess we should say it was actually a 1-point game midway through the first. Like you talk about like the 5 minutes in, it was 13-12 before Davidson went on a 16-0 run to end the quarter up 31-16. But they hit their first 8 3-pointers before missing one in the middle of the second quarter. By that time, the score was 41-18. You thought it couldn't get worse than 31-16. It did. I mean, like this was hard to watch.
I mean, I got to pull up the stats here, but I want to talk about turnovers here because SLU had 14, and I am damn sure they had 30.
Yeah, it felt like a lot. You're talking about just turnovers?
Yes, straight up. I thought we turned the ball over probably every other possession.
Yeah. So 14-12 is what it was overall, which it's crazy, right? It didn't feel like that, but I think a lot of that was there just wasn't much pressure by the Wildcats in the second half. At halftime, the stats were insane. 59-27 was the score. Davidson was 20 of 31 from the field, 11 of 13 from three. So even after going 8 of 8, they went 3 of 5 to close that half. They were 8 of 10 from the free throw line. They won the rebounding battle 18-5. They forced 11 turnovers in the first half, so that's why you feel that way. They only had 4.
I did 20 of 31, 11 from 13, and 8 of 10 with Kevin Lish in College Hoops 2K7 one time.
And you thought you were amazing, I bet.
Yes, it was against the computer, unfortunately.
Yes, yeah, and to do that in real life is
preposterous. These Aussies that Davidson had, they just absolutely killed us.
They really did. They did come back down to earth a little bit in the second half. SLU still couldn't find a bucket, though. They outscored SLU in all 4 quarters. And in the end, SLU shot 327 from the field, 125 from 3, 2 of 16. And of course, they were over 80% from the free throw line because they're a great free throw shooting team. But Davidson finished just under 50% from the field, 58.3% from three, 78% from the free throw line. Rebounds, Zach, were a staggering 49-21. They had
It was awful.
21 offensive rebounds to just 6 for the Bills. And at least 2 of those 6 came on the same play where they were just kind of missing a layup right at the basket, just missing layup after layup and getting those rebounds. So 6 is actually more than it felt like.
I need to know like points per possession in this game.
Oh.
Because like it could be 1. Right? Or it could be like 100, like, you know, like 1,000, like Perfect. I think every time down the court
it was more than 1.
No, you know what I mean. Like I think it was like 1 for 1. Every possession they scored.
Oh, like sure.
Regardless of if they missed a shot, they got that rebound.
Yeah.
If they missed that, they got that rebound. No empty trips. There were 0 empty trips for the Wildcats in this one. The minutes distribution in this one we need to get to. I don't know if you have it in the notes, but like
I don't.
It's bizarre. It's very odd.
Well, you look that up, and I'll run you through this. Bench points 38-4. Fast break were just 7-3. And I think almost all of those were in the first half. It was, very odd that way. Points in the paint, 38-22. Second chance points, 33-5. Assists, and this one I think kind of tells the story for me, the way that I, was just kind of watching this game play out. 20-4. Davidson just zinging that ball around. Slug had nothing. Slug somehow had more blocks, 6-4, and more steals, 9-8. But it didn't really matter. Tierra Simon led SLU with 17 points, but only had 4 rebounds in this game. Kennedy Calhoun, very uncharacteristic game, scored 15, which is a good number, but 0 rebounds and 0 assists. She normally kind of fills out the stat sheet. Mia Bergstrom had 11, but went 1 of 7 from 3. Peyton Kennedy, another rough game. Like you said, she had a rough week. 0 of 7 from the field, 3 of 4 from the line, which is bad for her. The Wildcats were just all over her from the jump. Talk about shutting a player down. Maya Glanton led SLU with 7 rebounds. But Zach, getting to these minutes, both teams emptied the benches in the fourth quarter. 14 different Wildcats got in the game. I didn't see a whole lot from the SLU players, who we don't get to see very often. 4 bench points, as we said earlier. But what did you notice about minutes distribution that was so unusual?
So, Brooklyn Gray got 2 minutes in this game.
Mm-hmm.
Rita Nazario got 4 more minutes than Brooklyn Gray in this game. That's shocking. Sean Anumeli had 5 minutes in this game. I thought she played way more. But like, I don't know what to make of this.
And the starting lineup was odd too. You had Simon, Calhoun, Bergstrom, Kennedy, and Shavers. Right?
See, I didn't think that was too crazy.
Yeah, I mean, look, they normally they've been starting Hannah Wallace.
That to me was weird.
They've been starting Anumeli a lot. So
Again,
the fact
disagree
that
with that, but
those two, freshmen back on the bench, and then as you said, Brooklyn Gray only getting 2 minutes off the end of the bench, and 2 turnovers and nothing else in those 2 minutes. You got to wonder, like, is there something going on behind the scenes? If all of a sudden a couple of your young freshmen who've been starting get pulled, and then Brooklyn Gray, who's frequently been the top scorer and sometimes the top minute getter off the bench, a super sub, and then sometimes a starter. The fact that she's down at the end of the bench, I just kind of wonder if there's more going on here than meets the eye.
Sure seems like it.
Their play is, talk about 2 teams going in opposite directions as we open conference. Men's basketball finally clicking. Women's basketball has fallen off a cliff after winning their last 3 non-con games.
20, 17, and 41 point losses in their last 3 games. I mean, it's hard to see anything happening with this team. I mean, look, like, I'll say this, and I'm certainly not saying that the weather caused this performance, but you texted me and said, did maybe Davidson was like, shit, we're going to be here a while. We better win this game.
Yeah.
And I said, and SLU looks like they didn't want to get out of bed. I mean,
Yeah.
again, less fans than personnel were at the arena.
I was thinking about Davidson a lot, and because they get in this weekend there, they were probably, given that this was an 11 o'clock local time start, they're flying back, or the plan was to fly back tonight. Now you got to wonder, I'm like, I would have been tempted as a Davidson player, like if I didn't have, I wouldn't have had like my laptop and stuff like that necessarily, like for schoolwork and stuff.
Well, they
right?
definitely do. Now they would.
Yeah, but I mean, if they don't, would they have class this week? I mean, I don't know if Davidson has class or not. But I guess my point is they're probably thinking, okay, we're going to be in there, flying back home after the game, quick business trip, right? And now they're like, we might be stuck in a hotel in St. Louis for like 2 or 3 days, so more days. So yeah, like it just puts you in this weird frame of mind, like. Maybe they were just jacked up and energetic because they're kind of staring down potential cabin fever here. And yeah, it looked like SLU, man, like needed to be pulled out of bed because they were everywhere.
I know Tillett has talked about starting, quickly or early, like getting into the game quickly. And I wonder how much of that is player driven and how much of that is coach driven as far as like schematics and scouts, because it feels like it's almost been in the games where SLU has come back. It always feels like it's schematic or a change in the way we're playing defense or offense, and not so much that it's an effort based thing. And I don't know why I feel that way.
No, I mean, I agree with this, and let's get into this a little bit, because I kind of I put look, I'm not sure what to take away from this game, but maybe we can kind of list some things going 0-3 to start conference. And you talk about schematics, and I had it in here just under the heading system, and I think they just kind of have, I don't know what their system is, right? Because it seems like they're always really adapting and trying to change lineups and minutes and everything, tweaking to what the opponent is. But clearly that's not working here. And I feel like when we face teams that are better than us, and a lot of the teams that have blown SLU out this year, they've got a lot of double-digit losses this season, are A10 teams and Missouri Valley teams, right? It's not just USC and Mizzou. It's a lot of teams that are supposed to be peers. Watching Drake, for example, talk about a team that just knows who they are and just plays good basketball. When I watch them play, it seems like from game to game, SLU kind of can't remember who they are or what they're supposed to be. It's such a helter-skelter style. And as much as I appreciate the effort of a Calhoun and what Martinez was last year, it's a high turnover, sloppy basketball style when your point guards are just kind of trying to create chaos out there. And I feel like I want more defined roles. I want
the Davidson coach.
Yeah, she was impressive in this one. But I want true point guards who really know how to defend and distribute and just have a more controlled tone, because even when SLU is winning, the style is just so frenetic. So many turnovers, and it leads to these huge runs in both directions, right? Instead of having to make up for these bad starts, how about a more complete, consistent 40-minute performance?
Yeah.
Instead of starting off in a big hole every season, how about a more stable season from start to finish? Yeah. I just I don't know quite what we're trying to do from game to game. It's just, it shifts too much. The other things I brought up, Zach, I don't know if you have any more points on that one, was in the short term, rebounding, you got to figure it out. Tierra Simon is on an island all by herself down there. We thought they'd improved in this area. It was a point of focus those last few non-conference games, but maybe it was just against weaker competition. They need to figure out how to make it happen, whether it's Glanton or Shavers, getting the 6'5" players more run. It's clear that they cannot concede rebounding for a smaller, more offensively capable lineup, because when we're not hitting shots, and when there aren't as many, opportunities, you need to clean the glass.
Yeah, and you've got Trianta Philly and Hedera on the bench.
Right. Get him going.
I don't know. Like, again, I don't want to, like, it's clear that I have opinions on front court personnel decisions regarding St. Louis University basketball teams. But, like, we can't rebound to save our life. I don't know how well we're defending inside. I don't know. Let Trianta Philly practiced in the Big East or the ACC or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, let's see what she can do.
Yeah, I can't. And you bring in Glanton, who was like the leader at Indiana State last year, and she can't even get off the bench. It's like what's going on there? So
like, why bring her in?
I don't know what's you need if you're going to bring transfers in like that. They got to be ready to go, and so which kind of brings me to my third point, which is recruiting. It's like I think Bergstrom, Anumeli, and Wallace are a step in the right direction, but you still see this team getting outclassed by a wide margin in every A10 game so far. Like I'm not blaming the freshmen. I'm talking about the whole roster now. SLU is giving up size for one. They clearly don't shoot as well from outside as other teams, but there's something else that's kind of harder to pin down. It's just clear these other teams have better all-around basketball players. They're more well-rounded. They're game ready. I don't know how you want to put it. They're just better players. The Longwood players just can't all hack it, right? Like, I don't think JUCO is the answer either. The players that we've brought from JUCO, they're fine. They've been gritty, but like we just need better basketball players, 4-year players out of high school, transfers who are ready to go right away, not ones that you're going to stash and hope to like kind of develop. She needs to upgrade this roster big time.
Yeah.
We said it last year. We got to say it again, man. It's just, you can say like I love her in terms of the culture and like getting people on the same page as friends and teammates and all that, but you cannot make up the gap in talent with that. You just need better players.
I think Billiken Mike in the Discord said she hasn't won yet with her players, a full team of her players, and I agree. I think we have to see her win within the next couple years, or you start kind of seeing what the Davidson coach is up to. See, no, I really liked her team, and it was that was a good team. That was a really good team.
Look, she's bought herself time by doing something that no other coach has done at SLU. Mm-hmm. So she's still got some time, but it's like, okay, like it's year 3, and
you're 500.
To open conference season this poorly is eye-opening. And
of course she is still 500. Little over 500 now, or a little under 500 now, I think.
Little under, yeah.
But again, that's where the championships make it interesting. The system. I mean, you mentioned that a little bit.
Yeah, we already went over that one. I think the last thing
you jumped around.
I did jump around. The last thing, Zach, is the jerseys. The Lou.
No, they're terrible. Get them out of here.
It worked for men. Get them out of here. Man, oh man, was it not a promising?
It's because they leaked. It's because they leaked the jerseys.
They got them out there ahead of time.
Oh, what a shit show that week was. Next up, they'll take on Saint Bonaventure, which I believe they have a retread coach.
Yeah, they
second
do.
Go around.
The thing that's tricky here is travel. Like luckily, we have let's see. No, it's Wednesday, right? So travel's going to be tricky for this game.
Yeah, I don't even know how this is going.
Because we've got to get up to St. Bonaventure, New York, which under the best circumstances is difficult from St. Louis. They've got to do it, somehow on Tuesday, I'm assuming. So good luck with that. The one thing I'll say is that St. Bonaventure is not very good. They're 4-10. They're 0-3 in conference. They've lost 4 in a row. They're 3-3 at home. So this is a winnable game, right?
Yeah.
They've beaten Cornell and Niagara. Neither of those teams by much at home. Binghamton at home they beat by a little bit more, but you got to be if they're not going to win this game, even though it's a road game,
cancel the season.
we're in for a long year. Yeah, I don't know if the March
Have we tried turning them off and turning them back on again? Pete, women's soccer, the Billikens have an incoming transfer, and that is name escapes me right now because we forgot to put it in the notes.
We did forget to put it in the notes, Zach, but her name we didn't.
It is Emma
on Instagram.
Emma Naftanel.
So she's not a transfer. She's out of high school. Actually,
sorry. Yes, she is. No, and she's not even a 2020.
Yeah,
she's the next year.
She's 2026.
Yeah, right. 2026 class, but she committed. To the Billikens. She's out of Colorado.
Yep, you got it. Yeah, so those, they tweeted out something that they're excited about a new player, and it was, kind of ambiguous, but they said after a long wait or
something. No, well, good things are worth the wait or something.
Yes,
and right. I thought it was going to be
a transfer.
Yeah. Outgoing though, Addie Lang's heading to Florida, and we don't have any updates on Becca or Ola Sharp. Pete, on the men's soccer side of things, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, the only note there is Cole Doherty is going to Fairfield. We don't know where
the
Jack
Stags.
The Stags. They're a good soccer program.
Yeah. Softball heading to Hawaii to open the season this year on February 6th. They play in the Paradise Classic, and they'll play Hawaii, Santa Clara, and Southern Indiana. That is awesome.
That's great. Good for them. Really, really excited for them. They listed on the schedule as Manoa or Manoa, I guess Manoa or Manoa, Hawaii, but it's really just Honolulu. That's where the main campus is. Just outside of downtown Honolulu. 2 weeks later, they head to the even more beautiful paradise of Evansville, Indiana.
Hell
for
yeah!
A tournament with host school Evansville, along with Ohio State, UT Martin, and Western Michigan. They'll open March at the Kennesaw State Tournament, where they'll face St. John's, East Tennessee State, and Rider, in addition to the host school. They've got a one-off at Illinois before they head to the Boilermaker Classic on March 9th to face Purdue and Bradley. Zach, I don't know a whole lot about the women's softball landscape, but this kind of sounds like a hard schedule. Like, these are a lot of big names they're facing.
Yeah, I mean, I'd venture to say Hawaii probably isn't great.
But that's 3 Big Ten schools, so far.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Also, I have to always flip a coin to remember if Evansville is Indiana or Illinois, just because I'm more familiar with Evansville, Illinois.
There's an Evansville, Illinois.
Oh, isn't there? Isn't there? No, there isn't. I guess there is an Evansville, Indiana. I guess I never mind. I'm an idiot. That's all. I used to be good. Hey, look.
Wait, you're right. There is an Evansville, Illinois.
Thank you. I thought I was an idiot. I was going to say, because I was the only person in 5th grade to get the states and capitals right. You have to believe me.
I mean, it's kind of across the river from St. Genevieve, Missouri.
Yeah.
So it's not too far away, but it's a tiny town. We're talking like 500-600 people here.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I mean, technically you are right.
Yes, I am very right. All the time. Conference opens up with Dayton. They also go to St. Joe's, Rhode Island, and UMass this season. Fordham, George Washington, Loyola, George Mason, and St. Bonaventure will all play at SLU. The other single home opponents, SIUE, Lindenwood, and Eastern Illinois. Single game road opponents, SIUE and Lindenwood. Pete, I think that's going to do it for an incredible, well, I don't want to say incredible, a wonderful week of Billiken men's basketball and an infuriating week of Billiken women's basketball. Thank you all so much for listening. Pete, go Bills.
Go Bills.